You know what? When I started doing monthly TBRs last year, I had a little rule for myself. I would say to myself, Sarah, you're gonna put 10, 12 books on your TBR, but you're not gonna take it that seriously. Those are the books that you maybe wanna get to this month, that you feel like reading. But if you just read 5 of those books, that's fine as well. Well, now we're here almost a year later, and I almost have 20 books on my TBR, which I don't know how that happened. This month I said I would hold my regular TBR very small because I still have a lot of books to read for my secret TBR that I want to be done with by the end of February. And of course I'm not going to share the secret TBR with you, but there's still 8 or 9 books left on that TBR. And I don't know how it happened that I also have over 10 books on this TBR that I'm going to share with you right now. It's the way things are, I guess. So yeah, let's get into that. Also, if you hear any kind of whooshing sounds in this video, it's because it's really windy outside and the wind is really loud. So I'm sorry for that. But yeah, hello everybody, it's Sarah, and today we're going to talk about what I plan on reading in February, or at least half of the books I plan on reading in February. And I'm scared already. Like, this is the biggest TBR I have ever had, but it's the shortest month of the year. At least I don't have uni, even if I have to write essays. But yeah, let's get into it. So the first book is a book I already had on my January TBR, and that is A Vow So Bold and Deadly by Bridget Camera, which is the third and last book in the Warbreaker series. The first book was a high fantasy, YA high fantasy Beauty and the Beast retelling, and since then the world has been expanded, obviously, so the retelling was over after the first book. And the reason why I didn't get to this in January is pretty much because I don't feel like ordering this book online and we're still in lockdown. But maybe bookstores will open up at the end of next week. I'm not sure about that. So yeah, the only way I'll get to this within February is if we open the bookstores back up. And if the whole of February we're still gonna be locked down, then I guess I'll drag this into March. Then 2 new releases that I maybe want to get to in February, although both of those are kind of big question marks, kind of depends on my mood. The first of those is The Dowry of Blood by St. Gibson, which is a bisexual, polyamorous Brides of Dracula retelling, which sounds so exciting. And so yeah, I really want to get to this. Actually, the release date is today, so yeah, might order it right away. Then the second book I maybe want to get to is The Witch's Heart by Genevieve Gornichej, and this is also a retelling, but it's a Norse mythology retelling, and we're following Angrboda, who is one of the witches within Norse mythology, and she was the woman who was the mother of a lot of Loki's children. Very few of whom had a human form, so yeah, gonna be interesting how it's dealt with in this book. But yeah, now let's get on to books that I actually have here, mostly. Next, let's continue on with some adult high fantasy, and for most of those I know absolutely nothing about them, so don't expect a lot of synopsisizing. The first of the books is The Mask of Mirrors by M.A. Carrick. M.A. Carrick actually is an author duo, but I don't know the names of the authors right now. But I know one of the authors is the author of the Lady Trent series, which I forgot what the first book is called. It's like the dragon history, a history of dragons, a natural history of dragons. Is that the name of the first book? Anyway, that series. This is an adult high fantasy series, and we follow a con artist, and that is absolutely all I know about this, aside from the fact that it is a beautifully gorgeous cover. I mean, look at this cover. I hope it focuses on the book. But anyway, I'm really excited to get to this, and I might already have started it by the time this video goes up, actually, because I cannot wait. And I think this also was on my 5-star predictions list for 2021, so another reason why I cannot wait to start it. Then the read for my book club of Queens, Witches and Valkyries, which focuses all around reading adult high fantasy written by women, is The Empress of Salt and Fortune by Nhi Vo. If you're interested in joining the buddy read, the book club, all the links, Twitter, Discord and so on are down below, and I'd be very excited to have you. This one is another absolutely gorgeous cover. I don't have the book yet with me. It's actually quite short, which I'm happy about because, as I said, my TBR is way too big for February. It's a novella, it's not a full-length novel, and this is an Eastern Asian inspired fantasy. I think there's some LGBT representation. That's all I know about it. I'm not sure anymore what it's about, but I've said this a lot of times already. I think I really like going into my adult high fantasy novels pretty blind. Like, I look if there's any of the phrases that kind of make me want to pick up a book, for example, following a con artist, but aside from that, I mean, there's such huge stories, usually the synopsis don't tell you anything anyway. Then another book I don't have with me yet is The Ruin of Kings by Lyons, which for some reason I always want to pronounce Lyons, you know, like the French city, Lyon. I don't know. Anyway, this I also don't know that much about. I know it's about like a lost heir or a recently refound heir, and that heir doesn't really want to be heir to the throne. It's the first book in a series, and I am buddy reading this with Cleo from Bemused Bookworm, and we're gonna be buddy reading the entirety of the series, or what is out so far, which is 3 books, because the 4th book is out in May, so it's perfect to read 1 book per month and then read the new one right away. So yeah, I'm also really excited for this one. And then the last adult fantasy book that I have on my TBR so far is Master of Poisons by Andrea Hairston. And actually, little storyline, I did a little fuck up on my poll for February read for my book club, because usually I put up a poll of 4 books, 4 choices to read in the middle of the previous month for the next month, obviously. And I had planned for my February poll to only have books by Black authors on that list, because at least in America, February is Black History Month. Now, I don't know if you can tell from the way I talk, but I am not American, and I am, let's say, timely challenged, by which I mean I like have absolutely no concept of what time it is ever, and you know, it makes planning hard. Half the time I wake up on my birthday and I forgot it's my birthday, so that's what I mean by it. And so yeah, I only realized after I had put up the poll for February that I had wanted to have an all Black authors poll, which, you know, I did a little fuck up. But anyways, this was sent to me in January by a lovely subscriber, which I was so surprised by. Thank you so much. And it's a Black author, it's an African-inspired high fantasy. I don't know that much about it. I'm assuming it's about maybe poisons. Who knows? Like, I assume there's maybe assassins or something involved. And also, if anyone's interested in also buddy reading this with me in February, then go ahead, send me a DM, because I always love buddy reading books. And yeah, since a subscriber sent this to me and since I did my fuck up, this is the one book that I definitely want to get to in February, aside from my buddy reads. So yeah, also by the way, I don't want to seem like I'm just reading this book in February because I want to have a quota Black book or something, which is not the case at all. As I said, this was on my wish list. I have been meaning to get to this for quite some time already, but I just haven't found the time to read it yet and to buy it, because mostly I just buy books when I intend to read them. And yeah, I just personally actually think rather than reading loads of Black books in February, I would rather read Black books the entirety of the year. And so yeah, that's my thoughts on that. Although I still think that Black History Month is really important, but as I said, it's not really a thing in Austria, which is why I often forget it unless Twitter reminds me, because my issues with time. Anyway, my battery is blinking, so I'm gonna change that very quickly. Now that I changed the battery, we can continue on with some rereads I have planned for February. The first of those is Warbreaker by Sanderson, because I joined the Crab Along Cosmere read along, Sanderson read along, of course, and Warbreaker is the February book, as well as some of the Arcanum Unbounded novellas, but I already read those in January, so I don't have to worry about them. And actually I only, not recently, but I only reread Warbreaker in 2020, so you know, it's quite a quick reread, and I'm excited to see what I think after having reread it so recently. Then I'm continuing on with my Jennifer Fallon reread. I'm probably gonna already have started this book by the time you see this video, but I have finished the Hydron Wolfblade Chronicles already in January. I also started with the Demon Child trilogy in January with the first book. This is the second book, which I think is called Treason Keep in English. Let's take a look. Yeah, it's Treason Keep. And yeah, I'm excited to continue on with this series. I'm actually not enjoying my reread of this as much as of the Hydron Chronicles, but the Wolfblade trilogy has all my favorite characters in it, which are now gonna start appearing in the second book more frequently. So yeah, I might get more excited about my reread of this series. And then I did finish my Percy Jackson and the Olympians reread in January, so I can continue on with the Heroes of Olympus in February. I don't have anything planned, by the way, for the Demon Child trilogy as well. I don't have planned to read both books in February. I just want to continue on with my reread, and same with this one. If I just get to the first book, The Lost Hero, that's fine for me. If I somehow end up binging the entirety of this series, which is 5 books, that's also fine for me. I mean, maybe it won't be fine for me, because that would mean I would have to read even more books, but you get what I mean, I think. So yeah, I'm gonna continue on with my reread of the Rick Riordan books that I wanna read, so that I can then reread the first book in the Trials of Apollo series and then finally finish that series. So the last thing I want to talk about is my TBR jars. I of course have 3 TBR jars, one for my physical TBR that I used to pull out 3 books from and then choose one of them to read, but I changed that for 2021 to pulling 4 books out of the TBR jar and reading 2 to 3 of them, because that's how many of my physical TBR I have to read to get to TBR 0 by the end of the year. Then I have my series TBR jar, where I pull one series that's unfinished on my shelves from my TBR jar and then continue on with that series, or finish the series if it's just one book left in the series. And the last TBR jar is my random books TBR jar, where I basically put my Goodreads TBR in there, which is full of books that I really want to read, but that I never find a reason to pick up. And so that I have a reason to read those books as well, I started that TBR jar this year. That last TBR jar we will leave for this month, because as I said, or as you just saw, I have a lot of books on my TBR, and add to the books that I just showed you 8 books from my secret TBR. So, you know, I don't need an additional book on there. Also for my TBR chart that contains my physical TBR, I decided not to pull any books from that TBR jar, but to choose 4 books, namely the 4 shortest books on my physical TBR. And during the month, I'll just see which 2 to 3 of those I will feel like reading. The first of those is Farewell Sidonia by Erich Hakker. This is an Austrian modern classic, and we follow an adopted young Roma girl in the time leading up to the Second World War. And it's depressing as fuck, so we'll see if I feel like being depressed this month, and if I do, then I will pick up this book. Next, I have The Wizard of Oz by L. Frank Baum, which has been on my TBR for quite some time, and it's also only 150 pages, so quite short, another classic. Then I have The Dubliners by James Joyce, which is a short story collection that I bought not the last time, but the time before that I was in Dublin. I actually already read quite a bit of the book, but I forgot all about the short stories, and I never finished it, so I'm gonna finish it now. And lastly, I have The Pages by Murray Bale. This is a book that was pushed onto me by my dad in one of his fits where he decided I read too much fantasy, and I never gave it back to him, but I also never read it, and I'm not exactly sure what this is about, but I think it's an Australian family drama type of story. So yeah, that's the fourth book. And the last thing we're gonna do is pick a series from my TBR jar to continue on with. Well, The Trials of Apollo by Rick Riordan. I'm not gonna continue on with this month. I'm gonna reread my Rick Riordan books first. So, you know, let's pick another one. The Anita Blake Vampire Hunter series, which actually fits quite well because there's a new book coming out in February as well. Although I won't get up to that new book because I think I have 5 books left in the series. But I think the next book in the Anita Blake series should be Jason. So yeah, gonna continue on with that, and I'm gonna put that one back in the TBR jar because probably not gonna finish the series this month. That was a hiccup. And this was it for all the books I plan on reading in February. If you enjoyed this video, maybe think about giving me a thumbs up and also maybe subscribing. If you have read any of the books that I plan on reading in February, tell me what your thoughts were on them down below. Also, as always, if you're interested in buddy reading any of the books, either tell me in the description box, not in the description box, in the comments down below, or send me a DM on Twitter. They are always open. Then also, as always, all the links to my social media are in the description box down below, so go and check those out. As I said, also all the links to my book club are in the description box down below, so go and check those out as well. And I hope I'll see you soon. Bye!